There we go. Okay, everyone, welcome to our lesson today. It's all about how to play duplicate bridge. So the first thing we're going to discuss in this lesson is what is the term of duplicate bridge? What does it mean? Well, duplicate bridge means essentially when you go to a bridge club and you've got those plastic boards and you take your cards out of the north slot and the east slot, etc. That is where the terminology of duplicate bridge comes from, because you'll put the cards back into the slot and then you'll send that board along to the next table where it is duplicated. The result is garnered on the hand, but what happens is that they duplicate the cards. So you'll compare your result to what the opponents have. Now, you're all aware of the idea of duplicate bridge, where east-west move one way, but the boards move the other way. Let's keep moving on though, and let's discuss a little bit about how you score at duplicate bridge. But before we do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just give you a bit of a background as to my learning of duplicate bridge and especially match points, which is what we're going to focus on today. Match point bridge. And now match points is just a form of scoring in duplicate bridge. There's other forms of scoring in duplicate bridge, such as teams bridge, where the boards are played by one team of four versus another team of four. There's also Swiss pairs, where it's not scored on a match point basis, but it's scored similar to a teams basis, which is what they call IMPs or IMPs, international match points. So, but today, what I want to focus on is a pairs-based scoring system that focuses on match points. Now, when I first started playing bridge a long time ago in a land far, far away, I was a young whippersnapper, all at the age of, I think, entirely 12. And whilst I didn't want to learn to play bridge, my brother Sean just said to me that you've got to learn. He learned when he was 18, and he thought that 18 was simply too old to learn to play bridge. Funny. So he dragged me along away from soccer training and cricket training and theatre and all of those things. And I mean, my ambition at that point in time was to open the bowling for Australia. And I've never actually succeeded with that ambition, but I'll get there. And he took me along to the Townsville Bridge Club, where I had a series of 6 lessons. I remember the teacher was a lady by the name of Etty Fell. And I still didn't get into it, but he kept taking me to bridge. And bridge at that point, because I was at school, was at night. So I would play on Friday night. And over a 6-month period, I came last in every single session of bridge. And then there was a breakthrough. I came second last, and I was thrilled. And what I was encouraged to do at that point in time by a lady at the bridge club, I remember her name was Joy Dean. And Joy said, why don't you help us score the hands? So do you remember that before the days of the bridge mates, we used to have traveling score slips. So everyone would write their result, and you couldn't wait to get the traveling score slip out and see what they did at all the different tables. Well, this was a copy of one of those traveling score slips. I'll just put the annotation on here so that I can, pardon me, here we are. I can use the pointer. I need all fingers at the moment. So what we've got here, everyone, is an example of the traveling score slip. At the Townsville Bridge Club, Joy showed me that each score simply was put into a ranking order. So you looked at the highest score and you gave that the maximum number of what we call match points. And match points and percentage are essentially the same thing. Match points get converted to a percentage. So let's have a look at this example hand. We've got 650 here as the highest score on this board. So that north-south pair gets 100% of the match points, and the east-west pair gets 0. Let's look at the next highest score. Well, there's 2 620s. So what we've done here is, because there's 11 scores, then everything is 10% apart. Now, the second and the third ranked score here would get a share of 90% and 80%. So that means their score would be 85%, 85%, and so on. The next score from 620, the next highest score for North-South is 300. That's 320 points difference, right? But if you look at the percentage difference, it's only 15% difference, 85 to 70 here. Whereas between the 100% and the 85%, there's only a 30-point difference. What's this telling us? What this is telling us is that match point bridge is all about the small details. It's not necessarily about the size of the score. It's about the detail in the score. So even a difference of 10. So for example, if your opponents would potentially play a contract of 2 hearts and make 8 tricks, their score would be 110. But if you were able to outbid them to 2 spades or 3 clubs, and you go 1 down, you would give them a score of 50, or even 2 down, you would give them a score of 100 if you were not vulnerable. So you have betted the potential score that they were about to give you, which means that every other table where they have gained 110, it means that your score of minus 100 is a better score. So even that 10-point difference may make all of the difference in match points. And let's have a look at when I say size doesn't really matter, look at the difference here between the worst score for North-South and the second worst score for North-South. So 1100, that was a bit of a mistake, versus 100. The raw score difference is 1,000 points, but in match points, it's only 10%. So whilst in a team's scoring format or an imp scoring format, that would be valuable, at match point pairs, a top is a top. It doesn't matter whether it's stone cold like this one or whether their score happened to be 110. It would still outscore the 100. So I'm hoping that explains a little bit about the intricacies of how you approach match point bridge. So in the details, let's start to look at how should that affect the way that we play the game. Okay, over tricks are very important. So even if you're playing 4 spades and you know you're going to make 4 spades, then you should still be aiming to look for that 11th trick, even the 12th trick. Whatever contract you happen to be playing in, over tricks are a vital addition to your score in the end. But before I go on to that, just when you look at the percentage of a score at the end of the session. So the percentage of the score at the end of the session is the total percentage. So let's go back up to here. So let's say you had a bunch of scores, 85%, 60%, 40%, and they were all added up over a 27-point session, a 27-board session. What would happen is that you'd add all of those percentages up here, 80 plus 45 plus 90 plus 100 plus 20, add them all up, and if you had 27 of them, you would then divide by the number of hands that you've played, which would be 27. And that would give you your final percentage. So when we're at the bridge club and we get a score of 56%, that is simply the average of the number of scores that you got across the session. I vividly remember about 10 years ago having a phone call from a person at the bridge club. And that person called me and said, we scored 44%, I noticed on the website today for the session. And they said, well, you know, we must have scored better than that. We bid and made a slam on board 24. Our opponents went down in slam on board 8. And she took me through several of the scores. So what I decided to do was sit down and go through all of the 27 hands with her and show her where they missed out on an over trick on a particular hand. Or instead of playing 3-no trump, making 10 tricks for 630, they played 5 diamonds and made 11 tricks for 600. So they were missing out on the best match point scores. Whilst they had reasonably good raw scores, their match point scores were actually quite poor. So back to the area, this area here where we're talking about methods under which you can improve your score. Over tricks, they're vital, absolutely vital. And if you're a defender, under tricks are also equally vital. So if you think you can defeat a contract by 1 trick, but you've got a very, very good chance of defeating it by 2 tricks, you should try very hard to defeat it by the second trick. If you defeat it by the third trick, even better. So all of these things do make a difference. It's not simply about making your contract or taking the opponent's contract one down. So the number of over tricks and the number of under tricks are vital. How else do we look at that? How else can we approach certain areas of the game? For example, as I mentioned before, playing 3-no trump versus playing 5 of a minor. If you simply score 1 over trick in 3-no trump, making 10 tricks, that score will be better than playing 5 diamonds, making 11 tricks. Let's look at other options. If you're thinking of playing in a minor suit and you play a contract of 2 diamonds and make 9 tricks, your score would be 110. But if you choose to play 1-no trump on the same hand, that score, if you only make 8 tricks, is 120. These are the details you have to try to weave into your game. So let's keep going. Where else can you gain extra match points? So there's an area in the game that comes up constantly. And that area in the game is what we call, let me just, my screen doesn't appear to be moving at the moment, so I might stop the share and I might repair that. Okay, I might go back to sharing the screen.
Oh, I've lost the screen
again. There we are. There we are.
Oh,
and then I'll go back. There we are. There we go. We're back to sharing the screen, everyone. Sorry about that. It seemed to freeze for a second. Okay. So how do we approach the, I'll just mute everyone again. Make sure that we mute all. There we are. So how do we then approach this in relation to a game of match point pairs that we play every single afternoon? So obvious areas. The opponent's bid to 4 hearts. Yep. Your side is not vulnerable. So what I'm alluding to here is vulnerability is a vital factor. If your side is not vulnerable and it turns out that you have a spade fit, if the opponents look like they have the lion's share of the high card points and your side has an 8 or a 9 card spade fit, even better, you may be able to take a sacrifice against their contract. One of the worst parts about having bridge mates at a bridge club is that players have forgotten how to score. Everyone should do themselves a favor and they should look at the scoring table and you should study it. One of the areas you should study are under tricks. So look at not vulnerable under tricks, 50 per trick. If you are not vulnerable and doubled, it would be 100 for the first trick, 300 for the second, 500 for 3 tricks, doubled down, not vulnerable, and vulnerable, 200 for 1 down, doubled, 500 for 2 down, 800 for 3 down. Now that's where the rub happens, is that if you're vulnerable, taking these sacrifices and going 3 down, doubled, vulnerable of 800, that's probably not going to be a good score. Now, a lot of you are very familiar with the idea of playing, sacrificing against game contracts. But the one thing I have noticed time and time again at bridge clubs and bridge sessions is people don't seem to take advantage of the details when it comes to competitive part score bidding. Okay, let's have a look at the whole idea of bidding 3 over 2 and not 3 over 3. Now, if the hand is a part score hand, it's what I like to refer to as 20-20 hands. With 20-20 hands, it means that both sides have approximately 20 of the high card points. Neither side is thinking of bidding onto game, and we're simply going to have a wrestling match to gain the upper hand in the part score area. Now, if one side owns the spade suit and the other side owns the heart suit, normally the spade suit will win out, but it doesn't mean that there's not something that the side with the heart suit can do. So your opponent's bid to 2 spades. Yep. Have a look at the example hand that we have here. Pardon me. Let's look at when you are the spade holder. You open one spade. Your left-hand opponent bids 2 hearts and partner raises to 2 spades. Next player competes to 3 hearts. Now, everyone, one of the reasons that player competed to 3 hearts was probably because they were concerned that 2 spades would be a making contract and give their side a score of minus 110 or perhaps 140 for the overtrick. Now, the reason they bid on to 3 hearts was because if they went 1 down, especially not vulnerable, they were only going to give your side 50. If they went 2 down, not vulnerable, they were only going to give your side 100. Now, even if they were vulnerable and they felt reasonably confident, perhaps they had a 9-card fit here, they may have bid on to 3 hearts thinking, well, we can perhaps escape 4, 1 down. They might even make their contract. Now, with these 20-20 hands, it's common to note that both sides with 8-card fits will probably take, if left to their own devices, 8 tricks each. That means if North-South can make 2 spades and East-West bid on to 3 hearts, they're likely to go 1 down. But should you then bid on to 3 hearts over, or bid on to 3 spades over through 3 hearts? Tony just asked a question here and he said, any rules about when one should double 3 over the 2 bid? I actually think that if my opponents are vulnerable and I have a decent hand that is somewhere in the vicinity of a decent opening bid of 15 to 17 points, around about that point range, my preference is to probably double the opponents, especially if partner can pass this out. Now, this double, once you've found a trump fit, is essentially saying to partner, I have a good hand here. One of your options is to pass. Yeah, you're allowed to pass, and especially if the opponents have bid on to the 3 level and they are vulnerable. So that would be a type of hand where I would double. So that would be in this instance, if I'm looking at this hand, is my hand good enough to double? Probably not. I think that anything could happen on this current collection in example 1. I've got ace, king to 5 spades, queen, jack, another heart, ace to 3 diamonds. Now, our side probably has slightly more points than the opponents. So there's every chance the opponents would go down here. But if they are going down, why should I bid on to 3 spades? So with this particular collection that I have here, my aim would not be to bid on to 3 spades on this hand. I think I would pass and simply allow the opponents to go down in their 3-heart contract. Let's look at some other options. For example, balancing against the opponent's 2-level contract. Now, the opponents have gotten to a contract where the bidding has simply gone. You're not vulnerable, and your right-hand opponent opens 1 spade, and this is your collection here. Right-hand opponent opens 1 spade. I wouldn't overcall 2 clubs on this hand, everyone. Just a little bit of an insight into overcalling. Overcalls at the 1 level, you should be flippant. You should be happily overcalling at the 1 level on hands with between 7 and 17 points. But when it comes to overcalls at the 2 level, make sure that you never overcall on a hand that you wouldn't open the bidding on. Now, would you open the bidding on this particular collection in example 2? I don't think you would. You wouldn't open 1 club. Therefore, why should you overcall, or why do you think your hand is good enough to overcall 2 clubs? That means that partner opposite, when you do make one of these 2-level overcalls, partner will take it seriously. They will think, okay, well, my partner's got an opening hand, or certainly an opening hand, at least with shape, and therefore I'm going to play them for exactly that type of hand. The other reason, what's the difference between a 1-level and a 2-level overcall? 1-level overcalls, somebody else will bid. Either your left-hand opponent will bid 1 no trump, your partner could bid 1 no trump, yes, or even the opener will rebid. Often we're never allowed to play in 1 of a suit. But compare that to 2-level overcalls. With 2-level overcalls, quite often you are left to play in that suit. So if your hand is not good enough, does anyone recall the hand from yesterday where the bidding went 1 heart from me on the challenge hand, 2 diamond overcall, pass, pass, and I made a takeout double? and the opponents then went for 1100. So there's a lot more risk. Opponents don't tend to go for what we call blood, that is penalty doubles, when we're at the 1 level. But at the 2 level, people often do go for penalty doubles. So back to the hand in question, you pass the 1 spade opening bid, you don't intervene with 2 clubs. But when the left-hand opponent bids 2 spades and the bidding comes back to you, I wouldn't be prepared to allow the opponents to play in 2 spades. This looks like it could be a 20-20 hand. If it is a 20-20 hand, then I reckon that we can bid on and hopefully take a sacrifice against their potential 110 that they're about to make. And if they do happen to bid on, all the better. We've pushed them 1 level higher. So with this hand, I'm going to make what we call a balancing bid of 3 clubs rather than pass them out. Now, I know I'm going to get some questions about this. Does vulnerability matter? My guidelines normally about vulnerability tend to be in relation to the number of cards that you have in the suit. I would happily balance at the 2 level. So for example, if the suits were switched here, if this club suit was a spade suit, and we'll talk about pre-balancing things a little bit later, and you chose not to overcall, you would in turn feel more safe about making a balance with a 5-card suit, but because it's at the 2 level. But when it's at the 3 level, then I'm inclined to feel, if I'm vulnerable, that I need a 6-card suit, or I need to have a 5-4 distribution. That is 1 5-card suit, 1 4-card suit. And there's many ways to get involved. I'm just going to quickly show you some ways to get involved in auctions when it comes to balancing and what these bids mean. So if the bidding had gone, there's our table. If the bidding had gone 1 spade, no bid, 2 spades, no bid, no bid, back to me as north, my choices here would be double, and double would equal what? Double would equal probably a 3-suited hand. Yep, 3 suits. So that would tend to say, partner, I've probably got a 4-4-4-1, or I've got a 5-4-4-0, something along those lines, if the balance is occurring at the 3 level, and that's what that is. Let's have a look at some other options. Let's have a look at the option here of bidding 2-no trump instead. If we bid 2-no trump, what would 2-no trump show in this option? Well, 2-no trump would probably tend to show 2 suits, so probably 5-4 at least in 2 suits, and it should normally in this instance, it's probably better off for that to be 5-4 in the minor suits. Now, some players might play that as 5-4 in hearts and a minor as well, but I think for simplicity's sake, let's make a bid there. So we haven't doubled here, everyone. Let me just take that double out and instead write in what I'm alluding to, and that would be a 2-no trump bid here. You passed originally, and then you balanced after the bidding went. 1 spade, no bid from you. 2 spades, no bid, no bid, and then you balanced with a bid of 2-no trump. And the suggestion is that 2-no trump will probably show a hand in the area of perhaps 5-4 in the minor suits. Okay, let's rub that out and let's look at one other option. One of those other options may be 1 heart, no bid, 2 hearts, no bid, no bid, double. How do you feel about double there? Double there probably brings the spade suit into the action. So double here would be probably 4 spades and probably at least another 4-card suit somewhere. But this hand doesn't necessarily have to be a 4-4-4-1. This hand could be a 4-4-3-2. In fact, if anyone was kibitzing our match that Ron and I played on Sunday afternoon, Ron did make a balancing double on a 4-4-3-2, and that was fine. He made the right bid. I erred by bidding his original suit at the 3 level. I should have actually bid 2 spades on my 3-card suit, which would have kept the bidding at the 2 level. Ron's double almost certainly was showing 4 spades at that particular time. So that's a few examples of what we call balancing. Again, the hand in question that we have on the board was when it went 1 spade, no bid from you on this particular hand with the Queen, Jack, 10 to 5 clubs, 2 spades from the opponent, no bid, and back to you. And I think that hand is definitely worthy of a 3-club bid. And why? Because you have a single suited hand. 3 clubs when you're not vulnerable. Yes, vulnerable, you may reconsider. The medicine may not be a medicine you wish to take, because if you're vulnerable, you could go down at the 3 level, especially if partner turns out to have only a doubleton club. But where does the theory come from with balancing? Well, when the opponents have a fit, your side tends to have a fit. So if one side has 8 cards in a suit, at least, which they've advertised on this particular hand, then your side likely has 8 cards. So, and where is that 8? Where are those 8 cards likely to be? They're more likely to be in the suit where you have the greatest length. Let's have a look at a little theory here about what we call pre-balancing. Pre-balancing. Now, on this particular example here in hand 3, we've got an option that's occurred where your left-hand opponent has opened 1 heart, not your right-hand opponent, but your left-hand opponent. Partner's passed and your right-hand opponent has bid 2 hearts. Now, you just sat there while I gave you a lecture about overcalling at the 2 level. Now, for me, when you hold a very good or a decent 5-card major and a 5-4 shape, if you pass on this hand, partner might struggle in the balancing seat with the hand if the auction continues. For example, let's have a look at that auction. If the auction continued, 1 heart from the opponents, and I'm looking at the hand from your partner's perspective. They're sitting here with something like this, king to 3, perhaps 3 small, or 4 small, sorry, 3 small. And they possibly have something like queen to 3, and ace, maybe jack to 4. They have something like that. And of course they've passed. Of course they've passed over the top of the 1 heart bid. And when the bidding continues, 2 hearts, and if your hand, now, and let's say this is your hand up here with the decent 5-card spade suit. And remember, back to the start of the lesson, I was talking about the importance at match point bridge of owning the spade suit. This here, you may be in a treacherous position, but one of the things you would do is you would help partner if you did bid 2 spades. But consider if you pass. So let's say you do pass, East passes, and partner has another bid. Certainly not an attractive hand, that 10 points with a 4-3-3 shape. They would pass. Now, North-South has missed probably a very easy 2-spade contract, and you've allowed the opponents to steal the contract from you at the 2 level. So on this particular hand in question, I wouldn't have passed with those cards. I wouldn't have passed with this collection. I would have bid 2 spades, hoping that partner obviously doesn't think that I've got the world, and I'm simply making what I like to term a pre-balance, because most balancing auctions occur when the bidding has gone pass, pass. And if you're in the pass out seat, you're considering actually passing the auction out. Well, this isn't that case. It hasn't gone pass, pass to you. When you're sitting with the North hand here, yeah, you're bidding into the teeth of a 1 heart pass, 2 heart auction. But the thing is, this is good match point bridge. It will allow your partnership. Joseph asked a question, could you not double here so the partner can call their best suit? Well, the problem with doubling here, Joe, is that partner won't bid spades. Yeah. And in fact, in the hand in question, if you look at the south hand here, if partner did have that, they would bid 3 clubs. So essentially what you're doing here is you're making the decision for partner. Many, many years ago, I was taught that.
Sorry, I mean no partner call. The partner doubles the king hand. The south.
You mean in the back out seat? I wouldn't double with that hand. No.
Right.
No, most definitely not. Yeah. So back to what I was saying about. I learned many years ago that often it's the hand with the shape that should take action in auctions where the opponents have shown a trump fit. So just bear that in mind. The hand with the shape, and that would be, in this instance, this hand, ace jack to 5 spades, king jack to 4 diamonds. That's the hand, the shape. So let's rub this out. And these are a few examples of what we call balancing or competing. So balancing with a 4-card suit. Now, this is a very, very interesting area. So let's have a look at this hand at the very, very top here. Your right-hand opponent opens one heart. Now, your hand is not quite good enough to double. It doesn't have the opening hand that you need. So you decide to pass. Left-hand opponent bids 2 hearts, and the bidding is passed around to you. Should you balance? Yes, you definitely should. One of the options is, because your spades are only 4, but they're a decent 4-card suit, one of the options here is to bid 2 spades so that partner may pass with 3 cards and spades. What that does is it stops the partnership getting to the 3 level. Yep. Now, partner's probably not going to play you for a 5-card spade suit. Why? Because over 1 heart, you probably would have bid 1 spade. So one of the big advantages here of bidding 2 spades in the back out seat is that it says to partner, I do have 4 spades. I probably have a little bit of shape as well, but I don't want to double here. I don't want to double because if I double, you may end up bidding my 3-card minor. I don't really want to see that. There's another question. Tony says, how do you know the partner? How does partner know that you are pre-balancing? You mean in the previous example, Tony? Often I say this, that if both opponents are bidding in an auction, you should always be careful. Yeah, meaning that you should take that into account. If you've got 2 bidding opponents, then take into account the possibility that when partner takes an action, that action may be based more on shape than points. If you had a very good hand with a 5-card spade suit, you may consider, okay, doubling, or, when I say very good hand, 16, 17 points. Yeah, that 2 spade bid could show anything from probably about 8 or 9 points right up to about 14 or 15 points. But partner can take that into account. If they've got a trump fit, they can raise you. Yeah. So pre-balancing is something that you should consider with the spade suit especially, and partner shouldn't always consider that your hand is good whenever you do one of these pre-balancing things. So let's go back to balancing in pass out seat. No, not pre-balancing, but balancing here, and encouraging you to balance here with a bit of 2 spades. If partner turns out to hold 5-4 in the minors and a doubleton spade or a singleton spade, they're not going to leave you there. They're going to bid their longest minor because they're pretty comfortable that you don't have 5 spades because you didn't overcall 1 heart with 1 spade immediately. Okay. So what I've got here, everyone, is a number of hands that I'd actually like to go through and bid and play the hands with you, and just see how these hands can make a difference in relation to improving your match point score. So here we are, just a moment. Okay, so back to here, keep that. I'm going to keep the chat screen open so that anyone can keep asking me questions. Okay, so here we go. Simple option. South dealer, they pass. West opens with 1 heart. North passes. East makes a delayed game raise by bidding 2 clubs with all intentions of later on bidding to 4 hearts. Is anyone familiar with splinter bids? Splinter bids tend to say, partner, I've got a singleton and I've got somewhere between 9 and 12 points, and I've got trump support for your hand. But you should never splinter with only 3 card support. Right? So don't splinter with only 3 card support. I've just got a bit of background noise there. I'll just manage the background noise a bit here. There we go. So back to the hand in question. And we've managed here to, after Easter's responded, 2 clubs for the opener when South passes, for the opener when it comes back to them. Minimum balanced hand, 13 points, 5, 3, 3, 2. Simple rebid of 2 no trump. North passes and East raises to 4 hearts. Fully aware that there's nothing more in it after that. Now, opening lead. King of spades seems like the best lead. Now, King of spades lead is run around to declare as ace. What I might do here is put out a line of play for you, and let's go through this trick by trick. So, trick 1. Trick 1, spade ace. Yep. Trick 2. Okay. What we might do is ask a few people what they would do in this instance. So if you feel confident about your play here, everyone, make a suggestion. I'm going to keep chatting as I go along. And one of the things I'm going to discuss is we're always tempted to trump when we've got a singleton dummy, to trump our losers in our hand. So in this instance, we could play a spade and trump it with the jack of hearts. But if you look forward, or you look into the future a little bit here, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen here is you're going to start promoting the opponent's trumps because you'll be trumping in dummy with their high honors. So that might not be a great line of play. I always find whenever dummy has a decent 5-card suit, and I'm looking at 1 or 2 cards in my hand opposite that 5-card suit, that is often a great place to start. So after winning the ace of spades at trick 1, at trick 2, I'm going to lead the club. Everyone, by the way, just a little bit of a hint coming from someone who loves to do what they call false card all the time, is I like to keep some spot cards hidden from my opponents. And this is an area of the game that we will get to sometime over the next few weeks. We'll talk about what they call count cards, understanding the number of cards that partner has in a suit when they signal high or low. Some people play that as a doubleton, etc. And when they play low high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to conceal the 2 of clubs and I'm going to lead the 4 of clubs. Club 4 at trick 2. And that when North plays low, they'll play the 7. Yep. You'll win the king of clubs in dummy. Well, that's a good sign. Things are going well. So what I intend to do now is see if I can repeat that club play. And the reason I'm doing this without touching trumps is because the trumps here will stand out as entries to the club suit if I can make the club suit into winners. So at trick 3, I'm going to cross back to my hand, and I'm going to do so with a diamond. So I'm going to play the 2 of diamonds, yep, back to my king in my hand. Trick 4, I'm going to play another club. I'm going to play the club 2. Yep. North, however, will take the ace. What that's done here is you can see that that has now made the queen of clubs into a trick. And if you're counting the clubs carefully, what have we got left? Well, there's been 2 rounds, that's 8. So that means that West and South are out. Dummy still has 3 cards in clubs, that's 11. And there's 2 more clubs out against the opposition. So what would the opposition play now? Well, they'll probably play, I think, at this point in time, a diamond. So opposition will probably play now the diamond 7 after winning the ace of clubs. You can win that in hand with your diamond ace. And then at trick 6, I think it's time to start playing some trumps. What do you think? So at trick 6, let's play a trump to we'll play the heart 2 across to dummies jack. And then at trick 7, I think we can probably afford now to play a low club. If South follows, yeah, which they don't, South will probably discard. So at trick 7 from dummy, we're leading the 5 of clubs. South will discard, and in the West hand, you can trump low now. You can play the heart 4. Heart 4. And that now, everyone, has set up 2 club tricks in dummy. So now we'll rub this out. We're up to trick 8. My rubber's not working very well. There we go. At trick 8, now we play a heart to the ace. Yep. Trick 9, we play the king of hearts. Trick 10, we'll play the club queen, and we'll discard a spade in our hand. So throwing away a spade in declarer's hand. And then at trick 11, because we've drawn all the trumps, remember? And at trick 11, we'll play our last winning club, which is the club 9, and we'll throw away another spade in our hand. And eventually, we will lose. So the losers, or we'll make 11 tricks. So we'll end up losing 1 diamond. So the losers are 1 diamond. Yep. And 1 club equals 11 tricks. I think that would be a pretty good score if it comes to match point play. Okay. So let's now go back ahead and have a look at another hand or two where details, or the small details, do make a difference. Here, again, a similar theory. We won't, Xander's asked a question here, why wouldn't South trump the club at trick 6? If South did trump at trick 6, now this is another thing you've got to learn not to do as a defender. If declarer is leading a losing card, yep, if declarer is leading a losing card, there's no reason for you to trump a loser. So declarer is going to trump it anyway. All you'll do if you trumped on the previous hand with the heart 6, all you would do there is make it easier for declarer to draw trumps, because there'd be 1 less trump to draw. In fact, if you did that, declarer would have made 12 tricks in the end. Yep, because declarer would have only needed to draw 2 rounds of trumps and would had an extra trump in dummy to take care of an extra spade loser. So it wouldn't have been a good idea to actually trump the losing club from dummy. Let's have a look at hand 2 here. Hand 2. So a decent auction. South is our dealer. Higher of 5. They start with 1 diamond. North bids a spade. South bids 2 clubs. So there's currently shown a 5-4 distribution. North bids 3 spades. Now let's look at this 3 spade bid here. The 3 spade bid here. To me, 1 diamond, 1 spade, 2 clubs, 3 spades. 3 spades would equal 6 cards and spades, and around about 10 or 11 high card points. Yep. So it's invitational, everyone, which is perfect for this particular hand. So North shows 6 spades invitational hand. South goes to 4 spades. Yep. So we've landed in our 4 spade contract, and now we're going to play it on the Queen of Hearts opening lead, everyone. Queen of Hearts opening lead. So let's look at the way of playing this hand. A decent line of play, very similar to the last one. It's incredible how often these hands come up. I was once having a conversation with Ted Chadwick, the late Ted Chadwick. Some of you may have remembered Ted. Ted was a wonderful raconteur, a really good bridge teacher, and a great guy. And Ted said when he would teach a class, he would often say to them that it's uncanny how many hands in trump contracts shouldn't have declarer pursuing the trump suit when they gain the lead. In fact, he thought it was somewhere around about 70 to 80% of hands that we play where declarer really should be playing a side suit before touching trump. So here, the opponents lead the heart queen, and declarer wins the ace at trick 2. Now, again, it's tempting to start trumping hearts and dummy, but if we do that, you can see what's going to happen. If you trump both of your hearts, the opponents will end up taking a trump trick because the king of spades will be used to ruff. So let's play our singleton diamond towards the king, queen, jack. So diamond 5. If East plays the ace, you're home and hosed. Very, very easy. In fact, some of you may remember I put this hand into our daily newsletter. So if East does play the ace, all of Dummy's diamonds become high, and declarer would simply throw away 2 hearts. So they'd have 4 discards, they'd throw away 2 hearts and 1 club, plenty. In fact, the king, queen, jack are all winners. If East doesn't play the ace of diamonds, now that's interesting. If East plays the diamond 2, then Dummy's king wins the trick. Let's rub that out, give myself a bit more space. 2, Dummy's king wins the trick. If Dummy's king wins the trick, then that means that declarer is onto something here, but they've got to be very careful. Still don't be tempted into trumping hearts. So in this particular hand, at trick 3 here, I'm actually simply going to play the diamond queen, and I'm going to throw from my hand the 7 of hearts. It's what we refer to in bridge as a loser on loser play. So I'm throwing it away deliberately, knowing that I'm going to lose this trick. The opponents will later on take the ace. And then I will still be able to set up Dummy's diamond tricks. So at trick 4, let's say if they play a heart, everything's very easy for me. Let's say at trick 4, they play a club. Yep, they play the club 6. Yep, I win that with the ace and dummy. And now at trick 5, I play a low diamond, the diamond 6, and I trump with a spade in my hand, the spade 2. And now you can see we've got winning or nothing but winning diamonds and dummy. And at trick 6, I will now draw trumps. I'll draw trumps. Okay? So that means that we've got 6 trump tricks. We've got the ace of hearts, that's 7. We've got 3 diamond tricks, that's 10. So the king, queen, and a long diamond because the suit broke 4-3. And then we've got the ace, king of clubs, that's 12. So that's 12 tricks. Again, playing hands where dummy has a long suit, a 5-card suit, and you as declarer have 1 or 2 cards is often a wonderful spot to start. Yep. So let's look again at another hand. Let's look at another hand. Hand number 3. This one's quick. Hand number 3. You bid to 2 hearts only. 1 heart, 1 spade, 2 hearts, and the opponents lead the king of diamonds. Declarer wins the ace, and now declarer's got 2 losing diamonds. Look at the club suit. Queen 10-6 opposite Jack 5-4-2. Well, you've got 2 losing clubs, whatever you do. The heart suit, well, hopefully we keep the heart suit losers to 1. The ace if they break 3-2. But the spades, well, you've got the ace, the king, and the queen. Now, any thoughts? Can anyone pop in a thought here about what we should do after winning the ace of diamonds at trick 1? Happy for anyone to comment, please? Diamond ace, trick 1, trick 2. Any thoughts? Okay. Trick 2, what happens is that we play the spade queen, but we overtake with dummy's king. At trick 3, we play the spade ace, and we throw away a losing diamond in our hand. And then at trick 4, we eventually play hearts. Yep. So we start drawing trumps. And that way we only lose 1 diamond trick to go with our losing heart and our 2 losing clubs. Eventually we lose the ace, king of clubs. Hand 4, again, this is an absolute classic, this hand. Very, very interesting hand. A lot of us get this hand wrong. A lot of players get this hand wrong when they play it. But you've gotten to 4 hearts, and the opponents have led a club. So the opponents have led a club. How should we play this hand on a club lead? So on a club lead, you should look at the potential losers you have. Well, if they keep playing clubs, we're going to lose a club trick, and we're going to lose a spade trick, and we're going to lose the ace of hearts. And then if the diamond finesse is wrong, which it turns out it is, we're going to lose a diamond as well. And that's a bit of a pity, because with the ace queen of diamonds here opposite the jack and two small ones, you've actually got potentially two diamond tricks. Wouldn't it be a good idea at trick 2 if you win the club and don't play a trump, but you simply play ace of diamonds, queen of diamonds? So let's do that. Let's try that. So trick 1, I'm going to keep the entry to dummy, the entry of the ace of clubs. I'm going to keep the entry for dummies jack of diamonds. So at trick 1, we win the first club with the king in our hand. At trick 2, we play the diamond ace. At trick 3, we play the diamond queen, and we have now set up the diamond jack. The opponents win the diamond king, and they play another club at trick 4, but you win the club ace in dummy. Trick 5, you play the diamond jack, and you throw away in your hand the 6 of clubs. So you have no losing clubs now. And then from trick 6 onwards, you play trumps. And that way you will only lose 1 diamond, 1 trump, and 1 spade. So that would be the successful line in 4 hearts here on that contract. Let's have a look now at a couple of hands where it involves competitive bidding. Everyone? Competitive bidding and how that changes our choices that we make in contract. This is a really important area. On this particular hand, again, it's a classic example of both sides, a 20-20 hand where both sides have bid to 2 of a trump suit. West has opened the bidding with a heart and also called a spade. East bids 2 hearts, South 2 spades. And West has decided, well, I'm not vulnerable. Yep, I'm happy to bid on because it looks like I can comfortably bid 3 over 2. We'll talk about 3 over 3 in a second and when you do it and when you do not. But this would be a classic example of bidding 3 over 2. East-West or West is convinced North-South will make 2 spades for 110. So they bid 3 hearts. Important for East not to think 3 hearts is an invitation to bid 4 hearts. If you want to invite partner with a good hand, what do? We mentioned this earlier in the lesson. You double. So if West had a good hand over 2 spades, they would double. And that says, partner, I've got a good hand here, or I'm interested in some further bidding. You may pass that out if you wish. But if you had, for example, 6 cards in hearts and another side suit here, you may choose to bid 3 of a minor. That would say, partner, I'm interested in game in hearts. But a bid of 3 hearts is purely competitive. Yeah, it doesn't say to East, please bid 4 hearts. West bids 3 hearts, and that finishes the auction. Now, what would happen to 3 hearts? Well, it looks like East-West would lose 2 spade tricks. It looks like they would lose 2 club tricks, because on the Queen of Clubs lead, South should win the ace and return a club. Why? Because that South is confident on the Queen of Clubs that North has the jack. So it sets up the second club trick, and it puts North in the picture of knowing that South has the ace of clubs. So they win the ace of clubs, return a club, Declaro wins the king, draws trumps, Declaro plays a diamond, but eventually the defense takes 2 spade tricks, 1 diamond trick, 2 club tricks, so that's 1 down. How would 2 spades have gone? 2 spades would have lost 2 heart tricks, 1 diamond trick, 1 club trick. In fact, 3 spades would have made. Pardon me. Maybe North-South missed an opportunity to bid on to 3 over 3. But 3 over 3 often doesn't work, everyone. For example, there's a possibility on this hand that trumps might have broken 4-1. If trumps broke 4-1, you still may have been able to defeat the opponents in their contract of 3 hearts, but go down in 3 spades. Let's look at this hand here, and it's looking at when to bid 3 over 3. So the moments you do tend to bid 3 over 3 are when you have either A, a 9-card trumpet, which we'll come to in a moment, or B, what we call a good side suit of tricks. Let's go through this auction. South deals and doesn't open one diamond. That's a typo, everyone. That's just, that should be one club. Please change that in your notes, that bid there to one club. West overcalls one heart. North either bids one spade or doubles, depending on the system that you play. Some people play that one spade here promises a 5-card suit. Someone's got a bit of feedback there. Where one spade shows a 5-card suit and double shows 4. For me, I think that I like simply for one spade to be 4 or more spades. So you bid one spade as North. East. So let's just got a bit of a problem there with some participants' microphones. Switch that off. Okay. And North bids one spade. East raises to 2 hearts, and South bids 2 spades. West chooses to compete because their hearts are quite decent. They're simply bidding 3 over 2, which is an acceptable practice, especially when you are not vulnerable. North passes because they don't have anything extra. They've only got 4 cards and spades, etc., etc. East passes 3 hearts, and it comes back to South. Now, South, this is a hand where I am tempted to bid 3 spades because this club suit here. We've only got an 8-card trump fit. Partner didn't bid on. They didn't bid 3 spades over 3 hearts. They would have bid 3 spades with 5 spades, but they didn't. So we've only got an 8-card trump fit. That is known. But I have this side suit of clubs here, and that's what I would call a real potential for us as a declaring side. If that was the suit that we held in defense, I'm not sure that that club suit would score us more than 1 trick. In fact, if you look at the hands in question, the club suit will only score 1 trick if that was used to defend against a 3-heart contract. But I think that as declarer, that hand has the potential for 4 or 5 tricks. Ace, Queen, Jack, 9, and other. So I'm confident with that hand to bid on, despite having only an 8-card trump fit with 3 spades here. Yes, sorry, Helen, there are 2 8 of spades and no 10. So let's make everyone change one of those 8s. I'll let you choose. Maybe give South the 10 of spades rather than the 8. So the contract is South would bid on to 3 spades. And we'd see how that goes. And the opponents, after they take 2 hearts, they would eventually switch to a diamond, and declarer would lose 2 hearts, 1 diamond, 1 spade because they break, and the club finesse, it does lose. So the contract in 3 spades goes 1 down. Is that a bad result? Let's look at how they would have gone in 3 hearts. They would have lost 2 spades. And because of the diamond finesse, they would have taken what we call a double finesse here. They would have finessed twice through the ace-jack, and that would have meant they only lost 1 diamond. And because the club finesse was wrong for north-south, it was right for east-west, which means east-west would have only lost 1 club trick. 1, 1, and 2, which means east-west would have made 3 hearts. So bidding onto 3 spades was a good idea. One last hand, everyone. And that is the idea of bidding 3 over 3 with a 9-card trump fit, which is what we alluded to a moment ago. South opens the bidding with 1 spade. West has a 2-club overcall. Why? Because you have an opening hand and because the quality of your suit is good. And I like to consider what is called the suit quality test, and that is the number of cards plus the number of honors in the suit you're bidding at the 2 level should equal the number of tricks you're trying to take. 2 level says 8 tricks, number of cards in clubs, 5, number of honors, 3, 5 plus 3 is 8. That hand is good enough to overcall 2 clubs. Opening bid and a suit, a good quality suit. North says 2 spades. Some might play some sort of Bergen style here, but in this instance, we're going to stick with the 2 spade bid. East competes with 3 clubs, not vulnerable, 3 over 2, and South says pass, because South has a semi-balanced hand, might have 14 points, but they'd be just as happy to defend at the 3 level as to bid on. Well, West passes, and North knows South has 5 spades, so North competes on because they know they have a 9-card trump fit. They do bid 3 over 3. So the whole idea here, everyone, is understanding when to bid 3 over 3, yes, and competing more often with 3/2. So in this instance, what would happen to a 3-spade contract? 3-spade contract actually does extremely well because the heart finesse works. We only lose 2 clubs, 1 diamond, and the heart finesse works and the hearts break 3-3 and everything's hunky-dory and we take 10 tricks and we sit there and we go, oh, if only we'd bid 4 spades. But that is not the key to this lesson. If you bid 3 spades on this hand and make 10 tricks, I guarantee you will get a good score. Thanks, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that. There'll be a recording of this lesson in your inbox a little bit later on today. Otherwise, for those who are signed up for the webinars, registered for the monthly webinars, they start tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And for the others, you can still sign up today. Let me know if you would like me to help you with anything technical or anything else I can be of assistance with. Thanks, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Before
yes,
you
Kerry. Kerry, yes.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Thanks, Anita.
those
Yes,
who
Kerry.
signed on,
Is that you, Kerry?
that's Jane.
Yes, Jane.
Those who signed on, do they get notes somehow or what?
Yes, you would have seen that today. Did anyone click on the notes today?
Yes, I did.
Yes, and I printed them.
Yep.
Yes.
They were sent to everyone today. You
Yes.
can look at your, thank you, everyone. Lots of thank yous.
Yeah.
The wonderful thing about having the video is you can play this back and have a look at it, and you can take things step by step for yourselves. But the notes, there's 2 links, each one of the emails. There's the link to come on to the website, and there's also the link which will take you to the notes. So go back to the email I sent you today, and it says today's lesson notes. Click on that, and you can print them out.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. And thank you. You've been wonderful today. It went really well, especially
Thanks, Matt.
with the fact that people
Thanks, Matt.
were able to type questions. I loved it. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Fabulous. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Matt.
Bye-bye.